All right, we're back. Short-term rental cheat code number 6. Get off your assets. I'll pause for effect, yes. The assets that we're talking about, you may need to get some clarification. What is an asset? Now, an asset is a little bit different than a liability. When I'm talking about assets, we're gonna use a financial definition. An asset is something that makes you money, right? If you are sitting on your assets, meaning you have a car or you have a home that you are not making money on, it's just costing you money, that is now a liability. Even if your home is paid for free and clear, do you still have to pay taxes on it? Absolutely. Do you still have maintenance costs? Absolutely. So by a financial definition, even if your home is paid for free and clear, it is a liability. Now, you may hear from the bank, hey, but that is definitely an asset because it makes us money. Yeah, it does make the bank money, you're right. So for the bank, a lot of times your home is an asset. But think about this. If you have an asset, it is going to be something that is of worth that you could sell. That's kind of the traditional definition. But if it's not making you money, you're sitting on the wrong asset, right? You want to make sure that it is making you money. So I bring this up because sometimes when you're trying to find a property, they're right under your nose. You may have friends, you may have family, you may have a piece of land that you had never thought of to create a short-term rental on, but because it's just a nice cabin that you go to a couple times a year, you never thought to rent it out. Suddenly, as you open your eyes to this strategy, it allows you to see things that you wouldn't normally see. So get off your assets, go figure out what are the things that I have that could put money in my pocket, right? What are those idle assets? The things that could produce money but aren't. Figure it out. And if you have something that you could potentially put on Airbnb or VRBO and actually start making money on it, why not try it out on your own stuff? Let me give you an example. This is how I got started, right? Here's the story of my first short-term rental. Now, if you look on this side of the screen, this is what it looked like at the very beginning. It had a little bit of a yellow tan room. It was a yellowish tan room, and I used my iPhone to kind of put together how I wanted the room to look, right? I'd been taking these classes. I was like, man, I'm gonna figure this out. So I snapped pictures and I did the very best that I could with the understanding that I had. I put together a bed. I was able to ask my sister to use one of her old pieces of furniture. She's like, hey, I don't want this king size bed anymore. I'm downsizing to a queen. I was like, can I have that? And she's like, yeah, sweet. So I turned something that was going to go and get donated to something that ended up making me a ton of money. Now, this was a really nice place, and I spent less than $2,000 putting this entire place together because I was kind of scrappy, finding things that we had in our home that we could use in the design of this place. I wanted to have a farm theme because this is in Sanpete County. It's a tiny little place in Utah, and there's maybe 3,000 people in the whole town. It's a great little farm community, but I wanted that essence of the farm community to come out in this design. So I got these little pillows that said Farm Fresh on them. I thought those were kind of cute. And I started putting this place together with the things that we had. This was my first year. This is how it looked on Airbnb for the first month or so. Then I ended up getting some side tables and a few lamps and other things, and we built it out even nicer. But it doesn't have to be perfect to be able to start making money. Check this out. This was about a year in. I came up with this idea to fold towels in the way that it looked like a bowl, right? Because this is a farm theme. I got some more pops of color with different pillows, and eventually this is how the room turned out. Does that look like quite a bit different from the way it started? Absolutely. Professional photography, iPhone, totally different. Now, here's another example of the way that this progressed, right? When I was there that first day, I was trying to figure out how can I use this space and maximize it so I can have more people stay here. So I was like, I need to either get a couch or have some way that I can have someone sleep on this other side of the room. It's a studio apartment and it's small. So I was like, oh, how am I gonna do that? I originally thought, what if I had a board or some type of way that I could create this window into a bed? And then I thought, for practicality reasons, that is not the safest thing to do. So I ended up getting a sleeper sofa, And that sleeper sofa folds out. Here's an example of what it looks like when it's folded out. And you can still watch television laying on this with your head right here where that bull's head is, looking at the TV. And now both people, whether they're in the king size bed or they're in that pull out sleeper, can watch the television. It's really nice, right? I hung that television on the wall so that this is not just for 1 or 2 people, it is now for 4 people, right? Sometimes it just takes a little bit of creativity to say, you know what? This little idle asset that I have can make me money, right? When I first walked in there, my first day, I snapped these pictures and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna have that ugly shower curtain in my listing. So that went day 1. And if you look here, this is in the bathtub. There was some caulk that it was just nasty yellow on it. So I ended up scraping all that off and recalking, and I had to resurface the tub as well because there were little chips all over. And sometimes, like, it's not so much that there's tons of things that are wrong. It's that the things that are wrong are going to leave the wrong impression. So you're like, what are the things that I absolutely need to do to make sure that this works? And then what are the things that would be nice to do so that my listing pops? At the very beginning, I didn't have all the money and all the time to fix every single thing. But stuff like this, I was like, that's gonna get me a bad review. So I'm gonna make sure that I cover my bases to get it as good as I can, as quickly as I can, so that, man, people are gonna come in and say, oh, this place is clean, it's comfortable, it's nice, and it's not dingy, right? So we repainted the entire place so it was a nice sparkly white. I'm gonna go back one so you can see that yellow wall to the white wall. It's subtle, but you can definitely tell that that clean white made the entire place feel more open and less dirty. And all that was a paint job. So get off your assets and go start finding where are these places that you may already have control of that you can start leveraging and get some value out of. That's just one more trick that you can get into your first short-term rental with. When I first moved into this place, there was no dishwasher. Some of the hinges were a little wonky, and I had these open so I could remember which ones. And I noticed that it was very tight. I wasn't sure how I was going to get a table that could seat 6 people, 4 to 6 people, and I needed to be creative. So when I went and talked with my brother-in-law, he had an old 1950s table that retracted to 2 people and you could pull it out to 4. And I was like, that is perfect. And he gave it to me because it was going to go to the dump. And I was like, I can use that. Use the stuff that your family has, your friends have that they might not want. And suddenly this is like one of those metal tables that I absolutely love. It gives so much personality to this place. And it's very unique. Like I've never seen one of those in any other short-term rental. So finding ways that you can be creative in the way that you repurpose things, it's great. So at the very beginning, from day 1, I was like, I need to make sure I have a table that works. And I wanted to have some type of decor up here that made the listing have some color. I originally thought it was gonna be greens, but I quickly learned that those take forever to clean and they get dust and they fall on your food, and it just wasn't perfect for this location. So I ended up getting rid of those, and I found these, like I have a Monopoly game up here, I have an old school Coca-Cola bin, all of these things that are simple and still on the same theme as that farmhouse, that have some pops of color, but are not overly kitschy. So I threw those up there, and suddenly this kitchen looks much more inviting than it originally did. And I really want to make sure you get this point. Done is better than perfect. It absolutely has to be done. It doesn't have to be perfect to be able to make money. And in Chinese, that's wan cheng bi wan mei hao. I bring this up because the idea of perfect in our head a lot of times is this has to not only look beautiful, it has to be 100% perfect. And the difference in Chinese is wan cheng is to be completed. When you have completed something, it is perfect. In a sense, it's done. So when you're doing your first short-term rental, sometimes it's not gonna be perfect, but you realize every single time you get a review with some different insights, you can make it just a little bit better. And as you make it just a little bit better, you make those little tweaks, little adjustments here and there, eventually that listing is going to pop and it's going to make way more sense to your end user. So don't worry about being perfect. Do the Chinese thing, right? And remember, done is always better than perfect. Thanks, guys.